Jesus looks at your life when you're in the ashes of your life, and he sees your heart. And you can be great in his eyes, even if you look like a failure to the world. Why? Because of your heart. At the end of the day, the devil wants to keep you from his presence. Because the devil knows there's something about this love. There's something about you going deep in love with God that he's freaked out of, man. Jesus says, abide in me and you'll bear much fruit. In union with Jesus, you'll change the world. Paul says, man, you can do all these things, but if you don't have love, you're nothing. Guys, tonight I want to share, really it's one of my life messages. This is one of the core messages that, it's not just a message for me, this is my life. This is what I burn for. And so I'm taking the pearls of my heart and I'm putting them out there tonight. And I hope that, it marks you. Jesus says, don't throw your pearls to the pigs. I don't believe I'm doing that tonight. I believe I'm going to sow seed on fertile soil. Chloe? Good to meet you, Chloe. The Lord just no, just kidding. I'm just kidding. Your husband shared your name. I met him while you were in the bathroom. But guys, tonight, this message is, my heart is especially for my team, because as we move forward together as a team, I want people to understand what I live for and where I'm going. Because if you don't want the same thing, then don't come with me. But if you do, I'm the right person to run with. And so I hope this touches you tonight. I believe that the Lord has called me to cover the earth with this message. I have a big goal, and that's to influence, eventually, I'd like to influence every nation of the earth in some way with this message, whether it's a podcast, me sending people, a YouTube video. The Lord has mandated me to get this message out to the world. This is a message he wants to cover the earth with before Jesus Christ returns. Now here's the truth. It's not just this, few minute message. When I say the message, I could preach a lot of messages on the message I'm going to speak tonight. But this is it for me. I want to tell you this. This is what you were born for. This is really what matters. What I'm going to talk about tonight is the most beautiful, wonderful treasure I have ever found. And I'm telling you, your heart was made to burn. Your heart was made to come alive in a way that you don't even know about if you haven't tasted this. I'm telling you, I grew up in church my whole life. When I began to encounter Jesus Christ in this way, I'm telling you, I found the reason why I'm alive. And I know the reason. I will tell you, look you in the eye tonight and say, I know why you were born. And I'm going to stand in front of a generation that's suicidal, full of anxiety, full of depression, and killing themselves. And I'm going to stand before them. I'm going to declare, I know why you're born. You were made for the deepest love relationship. Your heart was burnt. Your heart was made to burn. You were made to burn deep on the inside. And I'm telling you, I have found it. What's it, David? The reason for life. The reason why we were made. I'm telling you, it's amazing. It's awesome. And I pray it marks you tonight. So I want to start with a question. And I want to ask this question, because in this question is the answer to why you're here. And it's, what does God want? So many churches are catered to what does people want. Let me ask you a question. What does God want? What does he burn for? Because in the answer to that question, you'll find your destiny. You'll find why you're here. What can we offer God? I want you to understand this. God is seated on a throne, surrounded by millions of angels, being worshipped, and he's in glory. He's the King of kings, the Lord of lords. He needs nothing. Before the foundation of the world, you have the Father, the Son, and the Spirit living in perfect unity. They have all that they could have. They're in glory. They're in perfect relationship. Now watch. Imagine yourself for a second. You're seated on a throne. Now imagine yourself. You're being worshipped. You have glory. You have all power, all wisdom. What would you want? A lot of people would say nothing else. God is not just, in fact, let me say this. The Bible never says that God is power. It doesn't say he is authority. He is riches. No. He's not any of that. He's love. He has power. He has authority. God is love. So you have the Father, you have a Son, and you have the Holy Spirit, the Trinity, who's a perfect relationship. What do they want? Now let me tell you this. God was not fully... This is a controversial statement, but I believe God was not fully satisfied before he made man. That there's a desire in his heart that yet though he is satisfied in himself, there's still an ache in his heart for children. The Father was heart hungry for children. Jesus Christ, the Son, was burning in romance for a bride. God wanted something that he didn't have. Jesus comes to earth, and they asked Jesus, this is Matthew 22, 34 through 38. They said, but when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. Then one of them, a lawyer, asked him the question, testing him, saying, Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? And Jesus said to him, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. I want you to listen to the language. Jesus says this is the first. He doesn't just say it's the first commandment, and he doesn't just say it's the greatest commandment. He says this is the first and great commandment. That right there reveals this. That's what he wants. He wants all of your heart. He wants a deep love relationship with you. Now listen to me. Listen to me. He says the first and the greatest. When you stand before God, your success is not based on your ministry, on your work, on your blessings, on your money. Your success was he first in your heart, and did your heart burn for him? Did you love me? He asked Peter. Do you love me? Do you love me? Now I want to say this. My message tonight is not you need to love God. You'll never love God, me telling you to love God. The law demands, grace supplies. When you live under the law, it demands love God, love God, love God, love God. Then grace and truth comes through Jesus Christ. And he says, I love you, I love you, I love you. In your dirt. And I'm telling you, when he touches you like that, you love him naturally. I burn with love for Jesus, not because I'm awesome. I burn for love for Jesus because I've been loved. And you're going to hear that tonight, a little bit of my story. So in 2021, the Lord led me to watch a movie called Cinderella. And I don't care what you guys think. Okay, I kind of do. But I got to get over this because it's part of my story. God completely marked me by watching Cinderella. And I realized that my own story is a Cinderella story. I watched Cinderella in 2021. Now it's the 2015 version, not the cartoon. 2015, the girl with the blonde dress or blonde hair and blue dress. In 2021, I watched this movie. I felt led to watch this movie. And in the movie of Cinderella, you have a peasant girl. And she's just a peasant girl. And she has a father and a mother. And she's so pure. She's like Livy. So pure. Pure to the core. And she loves her father with such a pure love for just who he is. He's daddy. He's papa. He loves her mother. She loves her mother. And she loses both her mother and father to death. And all of a sudden you have this stepmom come in and these two daughters. And it's the devil and his demons. That's who those are. And the stepmother comes in and she does not love the father for the father. She married the father to get financial gain. And all of a sudden you have these two girls, the other daughters, who just want to be married to the prince, and they're praising the prince for his riches and what they can get from the relationship. And the whole context of those three people is relationship for benefit, not love. Relationship for benefit and not love. Many in the church are there today. Many in the church are there today. Now, why isn't the presence of God dripping on that kind of church? Because it's not what God wants. He wants us to love him for who he is. Pure love. So you have Cinderella, and she's abused. She's called dirt. She's literally called Dirty Ella in the movie. She's made to work. She's put her identity's degraded and called Dirty Ella. It's a picture of Satan and the demons. That's what they do. They call you dirty. They call you unclean. They make you less. They make you work for everything. And all of a sudden, Cinderella is put away, made to work, and made dirty, and brought even lower than ever. Now watch, her life looks hopeless. Her life seems like it's not successful. But watch, there's still a pure heart underneath the dirty clothes she's wearing. And under the broken spirit that she has, there's still a pure heart. And one day she's just out there, just out in the field, and she's doing her thing, and the prince is on a hunting trip. And he's out there in the wilderness hunting, and all of a sudden they see each other and their eyes meet. And all of a sudden there's something in that girl that the prince sees that he doesn't see in the other wealthy women. All the other women want him for his wealth and his riches. And watch, the other women, because he's in a season that he needs to get married, his parents are putting pressure on him to get married. And so there's all these other women that offer him benefits, wealth, power, influence. Marry the princess of France. You'll get more power in France. That kind of thing. But when he looks in those ladies' eyes, there's no love there. It's just political correctness and politics and all this garbage, man. It's hunger for power and authority, not a hunger for true love. And so all of a sudden this prince looks at Cinderella and he sees something in her eyes that catches his spirit. Well, she's in peasant's clothes, man. See, Jesus looks at your life when you're in the ashes of your life, and he sees your heart. And you can be great in his eyes, even if you look like a failure to the world. Why? Because of your heart. God is a God who looks not at the outward appearance, but at the heart. Man looks at outward appearance. He says, Cinderella, you're worthless. You're nothing. You're just going to work and slave the rest of your life. Nobody loves you. Nobody cares. The prince says, there's something in her that moves my heart. They have this little encounter in the woods, and they leave each other, and there's just something that marks them. They fall in love because they found the real thing. So the prince goes, and he has all these options of other women, but none of them touch his heart like this peasant girl. So he goes on a search, and he begins to search for this girl, seek and find that which was lost, the treasure of great price. And he finds this girl, and now watch. She can offer him no wealth, no benefits, no influence. She has nothing but her heart, her pure love. And that's all he wanted. Now watch. After she receives his love and receives his grace, the Bible says that we're made beautiful, Ezekiel. It says that we're made beautiful by his splendor. And this is what Jesus does, is he sees the purity of your heart. He says, I'm going to take the ashes of your life, and by my power and glory and grace, I'm going to make you beautiful. And he takes off the rags of peasantry, and he puts on the robe of righteousness for free, paid for with his blood. Why? So you can stay in his presence. You know what the robe of righteousness is? It's your ability to stay in the presence of God, even in your weakness. I'm righteous because of his gift of righteousness. Do you know why he gives you the gift of righteousness? Righteousness is your ability to stand before God and be right, be clean, be righteous in his eyes. Do you know why he gives it as a gift? Because on day one, he wants you to understand that it's for free and it's only by his grace. So that if you fail, you don't run from him, you stay in his presence. I'm telling you, you can live at the feet of Jesus and stay there even if you're in sin. Because watch, the key to the freedom of sin is not walking away from Jesus and fixing yourself. The key to freedom from sin is abiding in him, is staying in that relationship. The key to the freedom from sin is not going away from the presence of God. It's staying in the presence of God. And what if the Father isn't a Father who pushes you away when you fail, but says, I paid a price to make you my child, to bring you into my home. Why, when at your lowest moment, when I made you my child and adopted you, why would I put you away now that I've already chosen you? If you get this, you can stay in his presence. So this message and this journey, or this message that God has birthed in me, did not come through a season of ease. It actually came through the hardest season of my life, where the devil tried to destroy me. It's going to sound kind of weird to you guys, but I actually think a lot of you are going to relate to what I'm saying. Years ago, let me start here. When I was 4 years old, I gave my life to Jesus. My mom led me to the Lord. At 14 years old, I was baptized in water. I got in trouble as a teenager. Not bad trouble. I was homeschooled. I went to homeschool co-op once a week. I got in trouble at homeschool. I got in trouble at my Boy Scout camp. But man, ever since I was 4 years old, I've been born again and just have this heart for God. And so my story is like a Cinderella story. You're going to see it unpack in a little bit. So I'm born again at 4. My heart's just pure. I'm made new. I want God, a hunger for the Lord. And even though I have like sin in my life as a young man and a teenager, I still had a hunger for God. So at 16, I go to a youth camp. And in my weakness, and though my life's not perfect, I just have this hunger for the Lord. I go to this youth camp, and Jesus meets me there. And he speaks to me through these two young men. He says, David, I delight in you. I've always been singing over you and dancing over you because I delight in you. And all of a sudden, the love of God for me while I was a sinner, while I was born again, but in weakness. It's that love that set me on fire. It's been over 12 years, and I'm still burning more than ever. I wasn't a camp high. It was an encounter with Jesus. That whole camp, the whole 5 days, it marked my life. So I watch a video of Todd White a week later. I get completely possessed with like following this guy. This guy blew my mind. I used to be shy and timid. I began to pray for people in public places. I started praying for people in my school. I started getting up early. I developed a prayer life, and early for me back then. And I remember going in the backyard, and I just walk in the backyard because it was cold outside. It helped keep me awake while I was learning to pray in the mornings. And so I started praying for people in my school, started praying for people at grocery stores. I was 16, 17 years old. I prayed for like over 1,000 people when I was 17. I would keep track on my iPhone Touch, iPod Touch, because Todd said I prayed for 1,000 people before I saw somebody healed. So I was like, I'll do it. I'll do 3,000. I'll do whatever it takes. I was so hungry for God. I'm telling you, I would be on my floor weeping, fasting and praying, seeking God, crying out, Lord, I want your spirit. I want revival in my school. I didn't know it. I just was following this guy named Todd White in Danville. I'd just be on my floor. I mean, I fasted a lot when I was 17. I just went after Jesus. I'm trying to give you a little bit of vision of the purity of who I was and my heart for God and my passion. I'm telling you, I was sold out. I would go to the grocery stores just to pray for people. I got asked to leave / kicked out, that kind of thing, like 6 to 13 different stores. It was nuts. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's just my life. It's just how I was. I was 17, 18. That's what happened to me. And I finished high school. I go to first year ministry school. I get involved with a guy named Chris Overstreet, an amazing evangelist. He's praying over me one day. He says, David, I see you traveling with Todd White. I feel like you need to get connected with Todd White. That blew my mind. Todd was my biggest hero. Had never met him. Actually, one time he came to Bethel, and I wasn't supposed to do this as a student. I went to a different campus. You're not supposed to go there as a student. I had to because Todd was there. I'd never met him. I went at the end of the fire tunnel. I could see his dreads coming. I was like, hey, bro, can you pray for me? He's like, come here, bro. Little did he know he was hugging his first intern. So anyway, I get this word. I do 2 trips with Todd in between first year and second year ministry school. And then I do second year, and then I move to Texas and become Todd White's first intern in 2016. And I'm skipping a ton of stuff. That's where I met William. We traveled together and roomed together in hotels and stuff, and William Hinn. And started leading worship with Risen Nation. But, so you can kind of see, I just wanted to give a quick little overview. I was on fire. I was possessed. Sold out, 100%, still am. But after my internship with Todd, it was the hardest season of my life, years, where the devil said, okay, I see where David's going. I'm going to break him. I need to break him quick because he's going to change the world, and we need to stop him. And so the way the devil came at me was not with, let's tempt him to go to the bars and throw a pornography thing on his desk and see if he reads it. It wasn't sin. You can't get me with that. I love the light, and I hate sin. I love light, and I hate darkness. You won't get me with pornography. I don't have secrets in my closet. I can say this boldly. I have no sin that I habitually struggle with. I am free. It's not that I never sin. It's I'm not a slave to anything. Amen. I'm free because of the love and power of Jesus Christ, the grace of God. So you can't get me with sin, man. You can't put some temptation for any kind of lustful sin. You ain't going to get me that way. You know how you'll get me? The devil knew legalism and condemnation. I'm going to make him feel just like Cinderella. I'm going to make him work. I'm going to make him feel unclean, and I'm going to degrade his identity. Why? Because his heart's pure. And if his heart's pure, I can mess with that, the devil says. Because he is not mature. And he doesn't know the voice of God good enough to know this is not God. Because I didn't. I didn't know the voice of God good enough. So the devil hit me hard. So Ezekiel 36:26 says, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will take the heart of stone out of your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. The heart of, that's the verse. So he says, I'll take out of you a heart of stone and I'll give you a heart of flesh. So watch, when you get born again, this is what happened to me at 4 years old. He takes out this heart of stone, which represents a heart that is insensitive to the Lord. Before you were saved, you did things and you just did them and you didn't feel that bad about it. I mean, sometimes if you did something real bad, but when you get born again, you get a new heart. And all of a sudden you care about things you didn't before. Now here's the thing, the devil will take advantage of that sensitive heart. And he will make you live under law and legalism, and if you do anything that's even a little bit weird, he condemns you hard. Now some of you, I'm going to share some things, I might sound weird, okay? But I think this is going to minister to a lot of people. And I'm just going to be vulnerable with some stuff I struggle with. Because you'll think I was crazy, and I was. I was literally tormented by this stuff. Not crazy, but I was tormented. This stuff tried to destroy me, I'm telling you. This is real stuff, man. And I'll tell you, if you struggle with this kind of thing, you'll understand. So imagine this. Imagine you're being followed around. This is kind of my life for a few years. Imagine you're being followed around 24/7 by a cop, and his hand is on your shoulder, a police officer. Imagine this. How would you live every moment of your life with a police officer with his shoulder just lightly on your shoulder? His hand just lightly there. Exactly. You'd be, watch, I live a holy life, dude. I even drive the speed limit most of the time. I mean, who can really actually drive the speed limit all the time? Sometimes you just got a heavy foot, you know? So watch. Even though I abide by the law, and I'm actually really good at it. I just got my tab last night. So even if you live a good life, I'm telling you, I don't care who you are, that police officer always your consciousness will be on right and wrong all the time. And you'll live in not necessarily condemnation, but fear of condemnation. That's it right there. You live in fear of being condemned. Now, why are you even afraid of being condemned? Because you know if you feel condemned, it keeps you from the presence of God. It keeps you from fellowship with the Lord. The Bible says that if our heart condemns us, then it says, if our heart does not condemn us, we have boldness before God, implying that when your heart condemns you, when you feel that thing, I'm telling you, you know what I'm talking about. You don't feel boldness in the presence of God. So the devil's agenda was, I'm going to make David so legalistic that he's going to live under this umbrella of a law, and he's going to feel so like he's walking on eggshells all the time, on the verge of being condemned all the time, and fear of condemnation, and then condemnation, and he's never going to draw near the presence of God, because at the end of the day, the devil wants to keep you from his presence. Because the devil knows there's something about this love. There's something about this Cinderella union. There's something about you going deep in love with God that he's freaked out of, man. Jesus says, abide in me and you'll bear much fruit. In union with Jesus, you'll change the world. Changing the world doesn't happen by you trying hard and being awesome strategist. It happens by you going deep in love with God and abiding in Jesus Christ and bearing true fruit. Paul says, man, you can do all these things, but if you don't have love, you're nothing. So the devil's goal is to keep you from the presence of the Lord. So I just started having this extreme legalism come over me, and I could talk hours about this, but I'm telling you, I felt fear about certain clothes I'd wear, certain places I would shop. I felt like I couldn't shop at this store, because of this thing. And I couldn't wear some of the brands I like. I felt bad about wearing Adidas and Champion. I'm not even going to tell you why. I'm just going to tell you, I did. And so much so, dude, I took the bag of clothes, I put it in the closet to test it. I was like, I'm going to see if this is Lord. I put it away. Started wearing clothes I don't like. I'd look terrible. I preached lifestyle Christianity, wearing clothes. Remember the first time I preached there? I was wearing like weird clothes, like a polo shirt and like weird jeans. That's because I was so afraid of wearing clothes I like. You might be like, dude, you're crazy. Yeah. Listen to the devil will make you crazy. All the way to I'm telling you, it influenced almost every part of my life. My hair product, the clothes I'd wear, the food I eat. I remember going to a restaurant with Brian and his family. We're at Babe's Chicken. I go to the bathroom praying. I say, God, I really want fried chicken. It sounds funny. I'm dead serious. I was suffering. I said, Lord, I really want some chicken. But I know it's not perfectly healthy. And so I'm afraid that if I eat the chicken, I'm going to be condemned. But I really want some chicken. And I'm literally in the bathroom praying, trying to hear God. Not hearing anything. So I didn't eat the chicken. I had vegetables and a piece of bread. I could go on about this stuff, man. But evangelism. I was a gifted evangelist. I began to feel such pressure going into a store. I began to feel such pressure. If I don't pray for that person, I just walk by that person. I'm driving down the road. I'm seeing somebody. I don't stop and pray for them. All of a sudden, I feel condemnation. Now watch. All of a sudden, I start to pray for people, not because I care about them. I pray about them because I want to go be with Jesus later, and if I don't pray for him, I'm going to feel bad about it, and I can't be close to Jesus. Deep down inside, man, I'm telling you, what I wanted was intimacy with Jesus. What I wanted, man, is just to sit in his presence. And I'm telling you, I got so tormented. I was in my car with Sherwin Williams. I almost flipped, dude. I started weeping. I'm pretty sure I started crying. And I was like, I just wanted to cuss and swear. Now, I don't cuss and swear. I want to say every F word and every cuss bomb I could think of and just be done with it all because I was tormented. I mean, it touched my clothing, my food, evangelism. And all of a sudden, watch, if somebody asked me, David, how you doing, man? I would feel afraid to answer the question. Because I'm not doing good. But I don't want to tell them I'm not doing good because then I have to explain. But I'm going to tell them something because if I say I'm doing good, then I'm lying. Now I'm condemned about that. But I'm already condemned about this. And so it's a cycle. It's a cycle, man. The devil wanted to destroy me. I'm tormented by stuff. I remember one of the lowest days of my life, I felt like the only way out was to die. You might think this is just silly. No. Do you know why the devil could attack me this way? Because I care. Because I love God. Because watch, if you didn't love God, you wouldn't give a rip about little things. You wouldn't give a rip about little things if you didn't love God. The fact that you care about the little things reveals your heart's pure. And Jesus is standing there the whole time, and he's moved by your heart. So watch. My brother says, Dave, you need to start hearing what God's saying to you. I start talking to Brian Salazar. That man blessed me, dude. And he starts sowing into my life as a pastor and telling me truth. And I tell Brian, I'm like, dude, I'm seeing these numbers 5-3 like all the time. I don't know if it's not all the time, but I was seeing the numbers 5-3, 53, the number 53, so much that I was like, I'm not, Rachel, she's prophetic. She's a little spooky, I just kidding. She's a prophet, okay? She's kind of crazy, in a good way. I'm not a prophet. I'm prophetic, but I'm not a prophet. So I don't think there's a prophetic word under every rock. But I can tell I'm seeing these numbers enough, Jesus is speaking something to me. Now watch, the devil is yakking. Living police, cop, law. Just trying to destroy me. Because watch, what it made me feel like, I told Brian this. I said, if this is Christianity, I went to his house. We were standing out side his front. I remember telling him, I said, if this is Christianity, I don't want it. And I remember him telling me, it was in despair because that was a day I was not doing it. He was like, it's not. We parted ways that day, and I wasn't in a great spot. Because watch, did you hear the language? If this is Christianity, I don't want it. Where am I headed at that point? Walking away. Watch, Dave, if you just quit, it'll all go away. Because watch, what I would do is I would just quit, and I'd just do whatever I want. You know what I do? I'd wear like normal people clothes. I'd eat food like everybody else does, and I wouldn't be a bad person. I'd just not listen to the devil's voice about all this legalism. I'm going to eat fried chicken. Glory to God. But watch, the devil's agenda is to get you to quit following Jesus. and to keep you from his presence. And so I start seeing the numbers 53. And Brian, I tell Brian. Now, Brian was a man of God that God used in my life as a pastor. And so he hid the revelation of that number in him. Why? Because he wants you to walk with other people sometimes. I had a real lone wolf mentality. I always walked strong in God. I had a strong prayer life. I've always had a strong prayer life since I was 16. Since I encountered Jesus at ATI, I developed a strong prayer life, and I was strong in God, I thought. And then the devil sends demons after me, spiritual hosts of wickedness, whatever it was, and says, I'm going to assign you to David's life to destroy him. All of a sudden, there's something coming against me. I need some help. I need some backup. I want to tell you, sometimes when you're going through hard things, you need to share with somebody that you trust. Not everybody, somebody that you trust and that's a man of God. So he's sown in my life. I'm driving one day. He sends me a text. He says, David, I was looking up the 53rd Greek word in the concordance. You know what it means? Now watch, the devil is yakking, trying to make me feel condemned, unclean, guilty, trying to keep me from his presence. And I'm seeing these numbers, but watch, at the same time, I'm seeing these numbers. 53, 53, 53, 53. And he says, the Greek word, the 53rd Greek word, means pure, clean, holy, and chaste. So watch, the devil the whole time, just like in Cinderella, degrading her, calling her dirty Ella. The whole time Jesus is standing there. Watch, he's not taking it away. He's standing there saying, you're pure, you're clean, you're holy, you're beautiful to me. And I'm going to let that voice stay in your life, but I'm going to let my voice stay in your life, and you're going to choose what you believe. Why? Because he's looking for faith. He wants you to lift your hands in the face of adversity and say, I am the one he loves. I am beautiful to you, Jesus. So in 2019, I had 2 encounters that marked me. And the first encounter was with the voice of Jesus. Somebody prophesied, it was Sarah, somebody prophesied this song over me. And guys, in the context of what I just shared, this is what Jesus was sharing with me. Now let me say this, guys, when your heart is like mine was, this is how Jesus sees you. He sees you this way right now, when your heart's pure. So I get this prophetic word, and they say, this is the voice of Jesus speaking to me. And I'm on my bed, and I start, Jesus brings this word to me. It says, I don't know why you're being so shy, and turn away when I look into your eyes. This is a prophetic word somebody gave me, and it's a song. Everyone else in the room can see it. Everyone else but you. If only you saw what I can see, you'll understand why I want you so desperately. Right now I'm looking at you, and I can't believe you don't know. Oh, you don't know you're beautiful. And Jesus began to take me on this journey of revealing to me, David, your heart moves me. The fact you care about little things reveals your heart's pure, reveals you love me, reveals you desire me. So I'm sitting on my bed about a week later, and I'm just struggling with this, the enemy's voice. It's just keeping me from enjoying the Lord. And I remembered how my social security number, now watch, this is a number you get early in your life, sometimes at birth. My social security number starts with 53. From the foundation of the world, it's Ephesians 1. I was destined to be holy and blameless before him, chosen, accepted in the beloved. And I'm just weeping on my bed as I'm just thinking about all the things that Jesus is speaking over me in the context of feeling this condemnation. And I'm weeping on my bed. I start crying so hard I get hot. I take the sweatshirt off that I'm wearing, and I'm just weeping. I'm literally experiencing Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 15. It says, behold, you are beautiful, my love. Behold, you are beautiful. When Jesus, the Son of God, comes in your room in the context of being called Dirty Ella, and he looks at you with love and grace and says, you are beautiful to me. It marks you. And all of a sudden, he takes the journey that was meant to destroy you and he uses it to romance you. So one time, I'm going to share this last story. This is a story that marks, that is the crux of this message. I was driving home from work in 2021 at MJ Brown. It's just a Monday, normal day. I'm just a little kid, 25 years old or something. Driving home on a normal day of work, and I have this song that I turn on. Now watch, this isn't at a conference. This encounter didn't happen in church. This is one of the greatest encounters of my life, what the Lord spoke to me. And it happened in my car on the way home from work. Because this is who I am when you're not looking. This is who I am. I live for this. I have this song playing. It says, "There are no words. There's nothing left. My love will sing to you." And I'm just crying in my car. I'm crying. I have my sunglasses on, and that kind of helps other people not see I'm crying. And I start weeping before the Lord, and I'm just singing the song, and my deep is crying out to his deep. I'm just in love with God. You know that moment where you're just weeping, and it's just from your spirit. You're groaning, and it's deep. And I'm just groaning, and there are no words. There's nothing left. My love will sing to you. Why? Because at this point, I was romanced by the bridegroom. I was in love with Jesus. He had taken me on this journey in the Song of Solomon, where it was a deep study of the Song of Solomon, and it was marking me. I was encountering Jesus, the bridegroom, in my room in the context of years of being like Cinderella. Dirty Ella. Dirty Ella, David. You're unclean. You can't be in the presence of God. The context of that, of feeling the condemnation, feeling that unclean thing. And all of a sudden, Jesus comes in your room and says, "You're beautiful to me." And he washed me in the water of his word. And he romanced my heart. And now I'm crying as I'm driving. I'm saying, there are no words. There's nothing left. My love will sing to you. And my deep is crying out to his deep. And the Lord speaks to me. And I'm crying out. I'm saying, "God, I want to love you. I want to go deep in love with you. Oh, God, this is my prayer." And he speaks to me. He says, "David, ask me anything. What do you want?" It was a Solomon moment. Solomon was given the opportunity to ask God anything. And I said, "God, now here, watch. This is your opportunity. What is really inside of you? What is really in your heart?" I said, "God, I want to love you. I want to know your love." And my heart was, I want to go deep in love with God. The presence of the Lord came and just rested on me. And for a moment, it's like, when the presence of God comes, it's like, okay, what are you saying? But when his presence came this time, there was a moment of quietness, rest. Why? Because he's like, yes, that's what I want. I found somebody that wants what I want. And God found rest on me. And he spoke Song of Solomon. He says, "You've ravished my heart. You've ravished my heart." Instead of driving home, I drive to the lake. There's a lake. I used to live by the Colony Lake, and I just sat in my car and just enjoyed his presence. Months later, I was listening to a teacher named Andrew Womack. He's a great teacher. As many of you know who he is. And Andrew shares this story. He's on his bed in his bedroom. The presence of God comes in his room. He notices the tangible presence of God. And God says, "Andrew, ask me anything. What do you want?" Asks him almost the same question he asked me. And Andrew said, "I want to be able to teach your word and explain your word to the body of Christ." If you know Andrew Womack, he's one of the most well-known Bible teachers of this day. That was decades ago that the Lord asked him that. I'm pretty sure. He's in his 70s now. He's potentially, in my thoughts, he's potentially one of the most famous Bible teachers ever to live because of his influence on TV and radio. I think his TV program can reach, I think it's up to 3 billion people. He's become one of the most influential Bible teachers of today. God gave him what he wanted. And the Lord was showing me, "Dude, I did the same thing with you." So that was on a Monday. Tuesday comes, and then Wednesday comes. I go to youth group. I'm a youth leader. I go there, and there's this 14-year-old kid that comes up to me. He says, David, I have a dream. I had a dream about you. Now, this is a pure 14-year-old. This kid has no idea what happened to me on Monday. He has no idea what God asked me. He has no clue. This kid had the dream the night before. I have the encounter Monday. The kid has the dream Tuesday night. He's sharing with me on Wednesday. He says, David, I had a dream. His parents helped him and stuff, and he wrote it down for me. I have it written, typed out on a paper. I'll never get rid of it. And in the dream, he was in hell. And there's this lava pit. And the walls were covered with fire. And he said it was real. It felt like reality. And in this place that looked like hell, there are these prison cells, so to speak, these boxes, and people were in these cells, and they were sitting on chairs that were hanging by chains from the ceiling. And they were chained in these cells. There's one guy who's not in a cell. He's out there, and he says, how much do y'all really love God? In the context of the dream, now listen to the context of the dream. The context is, how much do you love God? That's the question this man's asking. Now, he's not a good guy. In the dream, he's probably a demon or something. He says, how much do y'all love God? And these people in these cells, they start taking out money and throwing money into the fire. They say, I love God so much, the guy took out thousands of dollars and threw it into the fire, trying to prove how much they love God. Other people took their clothing, they took their stuff, and they threw it into the fire. And then it says, and then it came to Mr. David Wally. And David said, y'all are throwing financial stuff in there, but I'm going to show you how much I love God by giving him my life. And I unbuckled the chain, seatbelt around my waist, and I jumped in the fire. And the other pastors and leaders that were there, they said, we're going to jump too. But they didn't. And all of a sudden, there's people cheering and yelling, and they're happy. They're like, wow, that guy loves God. And they're celebrating somebody that gave their life for the Lord. And the pastors are jealous because they're cheering, so the pastors are jealous, and they're mad at the people who are cheering because they're jealous. So they're sitting on the edge of their seat saying they're jumping, but they're not jumping. They said they would jump, but they didn't. Matthew wakes up from the dream in tears because of a few things. First of all, he felt like he was in hell. Second of all, he knew that once you jump in the fire, you can't get out. Third of all, he says, the last thing he writes, he says, I was crying because I knew he was suffering for Jesus. That dream was an answer to my question, to my heart cry 2 days before. God said, what do you want? I said, I want to go deep in love with you. And he replies with, I'm going to give you what you asked for. You're going to love me, like Jesus says, with the greatest of love. That there is no greater love than this, that a man would lay down his life for his friend. I don't know if I'm going to die as a martyr. But with that and other things the Lord has shown me, it is possible. What would cause a young man who has the opportunity to live for money? I could be a multimillionaire if I wanted to be. I could pursue wealth. I could pursue other things. What would cause me to leave all of that? To sign up to suffer for his name? It's because I found it. I found it. I found him. I found the reason why we're alive. Taylor, why don't you come up? Play as I close here. Now, Jesus was also giving me an opportunity to walk away. Because watch, he's saying, David, I'm going to give you what you asked for, but it's through the fires of suffering what I ask the Lord for is going to be answered, but it's going to be answered through the fires of suffering, just like when he called Peter. He says, Peter denied Jesus 3 times, failed, and had a weakness of love. And Jesus comes to him on the shore of his life. And he says 3 times, Peter, do you love me? He shows up on the shore of Peter's life, and he says, Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you love me? Peter, do you... See, this is the heart cry of Peter, that even though Peter denied Jesus 3 times, that even though Peter fell and his love was weak, you could see his heart was, I wanted to love Jesus. He said, even if all others forsake you, Jesus, I won't. And he's boasting in his own strength and love for God, and it failed. And I can tell you, he's feeling guilty, yet still when Jesus is on the shore, he sees Jesus and he still says, man, I just know the grace in his eyes. So he jumps in the water and swims to him. After denying him 3 times, he still has the boldness and the audacity to follow and pursue the presence of Jesus. Why? Because he knows he's loved. He remembers the grace in his eyes. Jesus was full of grace and truth. And Jesus says, Peter, do you love me? And Peter says, you know, Lord, I phileo you. It's the Greek word phileo. It's not agape. He's trying to say, I don't love you with a perfect God kind of love. Jesus said, do you agape me? He says, I phileo you. His love was weak at the start, and Jesus looks at him and says this, follow me. And one day, you're going to stretch out your hands, and they're going to take you where you don't want to go. And they're going to stretch out your hands. And Jesus was prophesying that Peter would die for Jesus. And then he looks at him and says, follow me. When Jesus calls Paul the apostle, he says, go tell Saul, he's speaking to Ananias to go get Paul. He says, go tell Paul how much he's going to suffer for my name. Why does Jesus do that to the apostles? Why did Jesus tell me this early in my life? Because he's a lover. He's a husband with strong desire. And he says, I want you to understand this is going to cost you everything. Do you know why does Jesus say, unless you hate your father, your mother, your sister, you can't be my disciple. Unless you deny yourself, take up your cross and follow. Why is Jesus so adamant about full surrender? Because he knows the quality of his person. He knows he's worthy of your wholehearted love. I'm telling you, the message I'm preaching tonight is not going to get the big seeker-friendly people. I'm not here to build a big crowd. I'm here to get Jesus. I'm here to go deep in love with God. And the message I'm sharing is not popular because it's a message of sell everything and pursue this treasure. What's the treasure? It's God himself, man. And so I want to just speak this, especially to my team, especially to those who are going to follow me this next season. I want you to understand this. I'm going to suffer for his name. It's probably not next year or the year after. As the Lord grows me and he launches me into my destiny, I promise you, I'm going to be persecuted. I'm going to be hated. I'm going to be talked about. I'm going to be blasphemed. I'm going to suffer for his name. I'm going to be misunderstood. And if you're going to come with me, there's going to be persecution. There's going to be suffering. There's going to be hardship. I'll promise you that. Jesus did to all of us. But I want to say this, that the suffering of this present age is not worthy to be compared to the glory that I've tasted of this deep, intimate love relationship with the Prince, Jesus Christ. I'm telling you, the treasure that I found of going deep in love with God is worth everything. And the suffering he's promised me and the hardship, it's not worthy. Paul says it's not worthy to be compared to the excellence. So I want to speak this. I have found it, man. I have found the reason why we're alive. And I'm going to get it. And I'm going to cover the earth with a message. And the bride is going to tell Jesus, come, Lord Jesus. Because the bride's going to know who she is. The bride's going to know who she is as the bride before he comes. So we're going to close, and the Lord wants to touch some people tonight. Some of you, I just want to give you an opportunity to respond to the Lord. Just give you an opportunity to talk to Jesus. Some of you may need healing. Some of you may need a miracle. I'm going to pray for people as well. But I want to give you an opportunity right now just to talk with the Lord. Just close your eyes. I believe some of you may even be struggling with some of the things I was sharing about, that legalism stuff, and whether it's legalism or whether it's just weakness in your life,